When you thank God for food that humans plant and, you know, provide and farm and all that stuff, you're only thanking the men who run the church, implying that they are more important than the humans actual providing the physical goods. In what world does that make sense? In what fully functioning brain does that make sense? Allowing men who have never shown you their God to take power from the men and women who work the fields and show you the food and shelter and services that they give to real people? Prioritizing those who pretend to talk to the sky over those who in reality are in constant contact with the earth and know how it works and actually do things with it? Why is religion still a thing? I know it's all mostly childhood indoctrination and the religion's many built-in socially abusive methods and customs designed to discourage us from thinking outside the steeple, but why is religion still a thing with fully mentally functional adults? What adult doesn't feel like a complete moron for even entertaining the idea of hell or Satan existing? What adult Christian can't equate that their God allows this devil to exist and thus is no less evil? And that even if this God did exist, why wouldn't they fight it? Why wouldn't this God fight, or why wouldn't these Christians fight it for its clearly evil intentions, as explained by the God's orders and actions in the Bible itself? A God that breaks its own commandments deserves to be overthrown. Its time is over. What kind and compassionate person could side with a God that tells you to value the jewelry-laden, fancy-dressed pretenders over the down-and-dirty workers who actually provide what humans need to survive? We need entertainment too, but that's all playing pretend can never be. Keep it for theater and story writing. Don't make entire belief systems out of science fiction. Ron L. Hubbard, I think that's his name. When you can prove a God to us, then you have a religion. Otherwise, you are just playing pretend and will always seem childish or dishonest to those who do not play pretend with reality. I will always thank the doctor who is doing surgery over the hospital padre praying for me. It was the hard work of doctors that cured me from the leukemia that your belief tells you that your God gave me. If you're right about your God put me in that position, and the human doctors and nurses were working against your God's needlessly cruel intentions. What grown adult can still side with a God like this, knowing he has these character traits? All that aside, I do recognize that Yahweh of the Bible is completely a false human-made God, so I'm just arguing as if they believe. If you think I'm believing by making this argument like some people like to argue, just because I'm talking about God does not mean I believe in God. That has to be the most stupidest argument ever. Back to the conversation. What grown adult can still side with God like this knowing he has these character traits? Have any of them read their own Bible? Why do we atheists always know who their God is better than they usually seem to? Why do so many Christians believe in a different God from each other? Excusing evil in the name of an invisible God is just excusing evil done by the people who claim to speak for that God, because they've built a system around their lie to trick you into believing that they don't need to prove themselves or their God. You know, the entire reason faith was designed. Religion has built a system around itself, around its demonstrably false story, to trick people into believing that they don't need to prove what they are saying or prove their God. In essence, convincing you to give them permission to lie to you if they so choose to do, at any point. No matter how you argue it, this is where it ends. Faith is giving permission to humans to lie to you in the name of faith. No matter how you add it up, that's always the flaw in the equation, the fundamental flaw in faith that can never marry it to the truth. How does that not trouble you? How does that not trouble any believer? You fully mentally functional Christians. How does this not trouble you about your God and the people who tell you about your God? That humans and human writings can so easily speak God's words while convincing you that they don't have to prove that they are speaking God's words. Call it a religion. How are you troubled by a God? How are you not troubled by a God that deals with you in these easily corruptible systems? Call it a religion, call it a relationship. If your God is the same God as from a specific religion, then you are dealing with that specific religion. You can trick yourself into thinking a relationship with God is different from a religion. and that a relationship with a God from a specific religion separates you from religion, but you're not fooling anybody else. Everybody recognizes that as one of the weakest statements that can ever be made by a believer. If you believe in a God that is of a religion, then you are a believer of a religion. You are in religion. You cannot believe in Yahweh without believing in the religion surrounding his story. The only way you can believe in God without believing in religion is to be a deist, believing that something started it all, but we'd have no way of finding out what it is, which is the only honest approach on the believing God side. On the non-believing God side, the only honest approach is we have not seen it yet. Prove it. Anyway, back to the conversation. It seems one of my main themes, obviously, is to bring focus on the fact that religion quickly grabs the spotlight from people who actually physically worked to earn it. By all the little things in which you thank invisible, unverified gods before you thank those real, visible people. Saying grace for a meal provided by hardworking people. Thanking God for a doctor's trained expertise and heart-gripping concentration when needed. Thanking God for a fireman saving children from fire. Do you know all you're doing? You're just thanking the men who pretend to speak for your God, again, those who wrote the Bible are included in that, instead of the people who worked hard, almost breaking their bodies, who are not pretending to provide you food and essential services. They're actually doing it. Yes, I'm repeating myself on this a lot, but this is the important point. You're just thanking men who tell you that their God wants you to kill homosexuals, subjugate women, enslave neighboring nations, and maintain a constant state of war by declaring without earning it that their invisible God's orders that only ever seem to come from human mouths or pens, just like every other God's words, are the 100% true moral words and way of life, and all other gods and cultures and people who doubt our culture are evil and deserve to be converted or destroyed. Physically, emotionally, mentally, socially, there are many ways Christians will try to sabotage those they don't agree with. How does any human adult not just automatically wish to reject a God and a religion who is described in these ways by the very Bible and believers in which seem to be his only real home? The minds of these believers, that is.